So this, I was getting ready for today. I was just going to do the Eye of the Needle, and then I read this, and I was just like, oh my God. So we're going to talk about this. I want to talk about, I really want to talk about this article. Because like, look, I went on Theta Thursday. Like the goons are like, I agree with the fact that the goons are upset. That isn't what I'm talking about here. So let's go ahead and read this. We can learn many lessons from EVE Online. I do not mean that we can learn about what a module does under specific circumstances or such like learning. I mean that EVE Online can teach us about ourselves and others. So as a little detour from the stories of New Eden, let's venture into a more academic. This is my favorite. What can we learn from EVE Online and how can it apply to the real world? This is like my favorite topic. Okay, great. Today we will be learning about the Dunning-Kruger effect with New Eden examples. Excellent. I believe that there is quite a bit of Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's establish some comment. First of all, I want to go back to this graph first. What I love about this graph is the implication that as your skill points go up, you become more of an expert. That somehow people in capitals, which are objectively easier to pilot, are more of an expert and have higher knowledge than a frigate pilot. And isn't this the Logi frigate? What is this supposed to be? Are they suggesting that Logi is even lower skill than combat? Also, I love the fact that they're saying that frigate pilots are the peak of Mount Stupid. That's great. Yeah, exactly. If you buy SP, and I guess my point is that I'm not saying everybody in Null is also influenced by the Dunning-Kruger effect, but like I would argue that the people that believe this might be. Is it a burst? I'd have to look it up. I'm not going to right now. Yeah, it's a burst. Okay. Whatever. Wait, why? Whatever. All right. So let's establish some common ground first. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a term used to describe a cognitive bias in which an individual greatly overestimates their knowledge and or ability in some domain. This may seem a little familiar to some of you as it is a condition that is rife. That's kind of true. Hold on. Let's just finish off the definition. How this overestimation comes about does make some sense. People do stuff and they think that they're great at it. Note, you'll only get to really spot the Dunning-Kruger effect when people are doing things, especially those things which require confidence and desire. What? Now I would say that people doing things are actually a good thing, but I would question following someone who has already displayed their proclivity to the Dunning-Kruger effect. What? Especially if they are not inclined to learn lessons of the past. Okay, hold on. Whoa, maybe I didn't even read this the first time because that's even worse. Yeah, I linked it once. Let me link it again. Okay, so Jesus. Okay, let's give some background, or let's do some groundwork. The Dunning-Kruger effect is about your ability to analyze your own state of knowledge, by and large. Okay, and the Dunning-Kruger effect suggests that the act of gaining expertise in something involves refining your palate for that thing, which means if you are bad at the thing, you likely also lack the skills to properly evaluate good and bad, which means that if you're bad at the thing, that also means that you're a bad judge of the thing, not just a bad executor of the thing, a bad judge of the thing. You can talk stuff about it and not know what the hell you're talking about or whatever, because the point here is that you are so ignorant and so lack of knowledge that you don't even understand what you don't know yet. And therefore you are going with confidence because nothing has caused you to contradict in your mind that you just understand it. Right? That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. The other half of it is that smart people, or more importantly, expert experts in their field have a tendency to not understand information that less experts in that field, the layman, I guess, would know. And this isn't like, you know, smart people don't realize that other people aren't smart. No, no, no. And it isn't even that like a doctor will understand like the things that they think about, right? Like a doctor will think about like the whether or not this specific pathogen or this specific whatever, you know, all these different words. They're thinking about this whole conclusion. And when they think about whether or not somebody understands what they're saying, they're thinking about whether or not they understand that part of it and understand that most non-doctors don't. But what they don't understand is that part of becoming a doctor meant learning the language. And while you knew some of the language before, you didn't know all of it now. And so now not only is the concept over their head, but even the words you're using is over their head. And this is why people that are smart or experts often sound like they're just talking over people. So, and this goes back to, so then there's like, as you grow through competency, there's unconscious incompetent. You don't know how much you don't know. Conscious incompetent. You realize how much you don't know. Conscious competence. You have figured out how to do it well and now focus to do it well. Unconscious competence. You now do it so well that you don't necessarily need to think about it. Muscle memory, right? Boom. That's it. There you go. So the most important, but the real big problem here is that this person has completely failed to understand the Dunning-Kruger effect and how it impacts people. Because this seems, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems to suggest that there are dumb people that are influenced by the Dunning-Kruger and there are smart people that are not. And that is not how this works. Everyone is influenced by the Dunning-Kruger effect. Everyone. This isn't about how some people are. This is about how we are. This is about how we have blind spots and what those blind spots can be. If you don't understand that in something you are having the Dunning-Kruger effect, then congratulations. That's actually evidence that you have the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay. So, knowing that his definition of Dunning-Kruger effect is stupid person, let's move on. All right. And hold on. I want to take this moment to say, I'm not bashing the Imperium, right? The Imperium do great stuff. I went on Theta Thursday. They were, you know, we had a great conversation. They were incredibly effective during the war. They have a long and glorious history and future about them, whatever. Like this, I'm calling out this writer, I guess. Like, yes, it is on INN, but like, I'm more worried about the arguments and the argumenter than in the institution, because I think that INN is willing to post other views or more nuanced views. This article is just wrong. All right, so we are all at risk to fall to the Dunning-Kruger effect. Not just that, but we are all, like every day on some level, it's impacting you. Another really fun example is, so if you're watching like the news, right? And they're having experts on, they're talking about all different kinds of things. You're going to like defer to their expertise. But then if that expert starts talking about something that you actually know about, you will become aware of how little that they know and understand, right? And you will think that they're totally out of their ass. But, and this is the crazy part, if they then swap topics back to topics that you don't know anything about, you will then go back to applying expertise and authority to their words, even though you've actually just proven to yourself, or it's been proven to you, that they very likely don't. This is a provable phenomenon. All right. Okay, so examples from New Eden. Imagine stating that for many months during the largest online gaming war to date, you are the most experienced block FC in the game. How to say who you're talking about without saying who you're talking about, right? You then light the worst place Sino in the history of EVE Online that leads to the largest defeat ever in New Eden, Dunning-Kruger. Okay. So, I mean, this paragraph in theory, what's up, Battle Wraith? And this paragraph in theory does bring up a good point, which is that, like, Pappy didn't lose because the Imperium had absolute victory because of, like, just because of technical reasons or whatever. It was Pappy's war to win or lose, and they lost it in several critical ways and several critical times. Now, it's also worth noting that, like, during the course of a war, somebody making a few critical mistakes here and there is to be expected. And so being able to call them out for it is like, whatever, like the Imperium made mistakes too. And so if I was writing an article, I could easily come up with 1 or 2 or 3 examples if I wanted to. But, you know, this is very clearly like, hey, Villy's an idiot, right? Like that's what this paragraph says. I don't think I'm wrong. All right. Or imagine yourself as an S-tier theory crafter. Uh-oh. You could devise the next big thing in the spaceship meta. With this, you introduce the propless Abaddon, which saw some action in the recent Vietnam War. So again, like, all this has become so far is a way of calling out individuals for individual mistakes and then calling that mistake stupid. Now, the problem with this in both of these examples, even if these are true, which I don't actually know who they're talking about in this case because I don't know who invented the propless Abaddon, whatever. But even if these are true, these are not even examples of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Because if they're a Dunning-Kruger effect, for these to be Dunning-Kruger effect, Villy had to not understand that what he did was a mistake, right? Villy would have had to have walked away from that thinking it was a good thing to have done, right? This is just a person making a mistake. For crying out loud. Perhaps the best example can be seen with when some predicted the outcome of certain complex systems. One could say, I'll fix the economy that has a number of pre-existing problematic issues, but with total confidence that that they buff the roque walls into the mightiest of mining ships and also introduce skill injectors. That'll fix. With that fix, you declare the job done and put aside concerns to your customers. Dunning-Kruger. Okay. So now we get to the crux of what this is. Okay. And this is what I really don't like. And again, I'm not calling out necessarily INN on this. I would like it if INN had a little bit more integrity than to post this kind of thing. But good God. Okay. So what they're really doing here is this thing that we already as a culture know is dumb and stupid and have celebrated as dumb and stupid, that's dumb and stupid. This thing that we've celebrated as a culture is dumb and stupid that actually happened, that was provably dumb and stupid, is dumb and stupid. This thing is just like these two things. Right? Also, the roque wall buff came months after skill injectors. Over a year after skill injectors. I really hate this idea that skill injectors somehow was supportive of the roque walls, as if the bazaar wasn't a thing and capital characters weren't just purchasable on the bazaar like all the time. All right. It is easy to be misled if you rely too heavy on the Dunning-Kruger effect as being the cause of all foolishness that you may see. Okay. Again, we're going to give him a charitable definition of this, which is that, like, the Dunning-Kruger effect means that not only are you stupid, but you also don't know how stupid you are. I guess. Not just like in an expertise, but just like broadly. Almost nobody had roque walls chained to mine. I mean, you're not wrong, but my point is, okay, hold on. You're not wrong about that, but within 6 months, that wouldn't have mattered. If you had made the roque wall change without making the skill injector change, then the people who built pre-made guys or or had dudes with capital skills or whatever would have trained over or whatever, and it, you know, supply would have met demand. So it wasn't like skill injectors. Roll quals weren't invented to like make people want to do skill injectors. People wanted the roll qual to be useful. All right. It's usually exhibited in people with low cognitive prowess. No, it's exhibited in everyone. It's exhibited in geniuses. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool to speak and remove all doubt. I actually, it's funny, I disagree with that, and my entire stream is based off of that, because like I'd rather say stuff out loud and get corrected, and then I know the truth. That's a good question. What is cognitive prowess? That sounds dubious. All right. For instance, imagine that someone knew the plan that they were executing was bad, and they were simply deflecting blame for the sake of time. Cool. Perhaps they had a business model that they had seen before that they liked, but they knew that the current player base would not like it as much. Then you could simply bumble about a bit and get the players used to a certain state of the economy. Once that state is normalized, at least in your opinion, then you could throw the player base a carrot or two. The carrots are not carrots, but players are told that they are. You could actually tell the player base that they are stupid for not recognizing a carrot when they see one. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, hold on. Spotting the difference, I assume that they were talking about these three examples, but like this feels like they're talking about the current one, or like it transitions into it like halfway, or like, I guess at what point did anyone think it was normalized? Nobody ever thought it was correct. That's why the roll qual kept getting nerfed. What carrot are people saying that you're stupid for not recognizing? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm sorry, that broke my brain. All right, let's move on. Luckily for the community of New Eden, we are not completely stupid. So, okay. So when we see some state that JITA cannot have more than 4,000 players in a system, while in-game chat shows more than 6,700, we know something is up. Especially when we, the consumers, are being told that nothing is wrong with the product except for the players are being stupid and irrational. Dunning-Kruger? No, plain dishonesty. Either the claims of only 4,000 here are false, or there's something wrong about the product. Okay, this is where I get mad. Okay? Not just because it's personal, but because this is so, like, every piece of this is no longer accurate, fully debunked, right? We know why. We know why that a capped system, a system that's capped at 4,000 players, that have players reporting that they're hitting cap and so can't get in, would show 6,700 players to people. It's about the chat protocols and the errors that it can cause, right? I made a video about it. But like, this is, why even bring this up anymore? Are you really honestly doubling down on the idea that CCP is lying about the JITA cap when people were legitimately complaining about not being able to get it into JITA? And then like within 30 minutes I go in and there's like 3,500 people in it. Now that the cap is done. This is just plain dishonesty, especially given the fact that this argument, especially when we, the consumers, are being told that nothing is wrong with the product. No one suggested that, nobody said that nothing was wrong. Nobody. I said that it was not making your argument. There were some people that were calling it stupid and irrational, for sure. But if this was posted on Thursday, I would have accepted that. But this was posted today. The changes, the update that we just went over happened 3 days ago. And they let this go out today. Holy crap. Sometimes it can just be a bad day that leads you to making a statement that seems counter to the general consensus. For instance, you could read this: prices will continue to go down as inventory shrinks and supplies and demand start catching up. We'll get back to that. Upon reading that, you might get the impression that the author knew something about economics. In reality, they got some words mixed up or didn't quite present the concept in the right way. Shrinking inventories causes price to go down? Don't tell Adam Smith. So, oh gosh, my cat is doing the crawling up the screen thing. We'll see how that works out. Look, I don't know what the hell he's talking about with this, and I'd really like to get his answer as to what he meant, get him to elaborate on this statement or retract it or whatever he ends up doing. I think that just continuing to pull this one statement out becomes increasingly problematic in face of a bunch of other statements. But I will admit to having many sleepless nights being caught up with this quote, right? Like trying to figure out what in the world he could mean. Now, I have come up with my charitable definition, which is simply that as demand goes up, as supply goes down, right, then the demand will go up, and the price will go up. And then as the price goes up, that will trigger more people to release their stockpiles, which will then be a suppressing force on the market, right? Local inventory shrink. Other than that, it's objectively wrong. It might still be wrong, even under that assumption. All right. But then you may, but either way, my point is that, like, I don't know, man. This one quote does not make up the extent of his positions. But then you may see someone write something like this, quote, anyone going down the Jita thing should be effing ashamed of themselves. It's effing stupid to play directly into bad changes. I mean, okay. So again, sorry, you may wonder why a player representative would be so scathing and still so cryptic. No reason given for why Jita would be so stupid. Dunning-Kruger, decide for yourself. Clearly they're speaking about a specific representative that made this specific quote, and so I don't actually know who they're talking about. If somebody knows, let me know. But other than that, I still don't have any idea. Oh, Billy, I still don't have any idea why this would be Dunning-Kruger. Even by their old logic that it has to be somebody's action. Like, what? How does this even apply to your definition of Dunning-Kruger? Okay, cool. I would like to point out that I did say that people going to Jita to do the protests the argument that is playing directly. This is not Dunning-Kruger. This is just a poorly argued point because you want to take a stab at somebody. Whatever. I guess the Dunning-Kruger there is suspecting that you are literary fencer. I don't know. The key to the Dunning-Kruger doesn't lie in self-confidence, but in misplaced self-confidence. No, it's about misplaced or lack of self-evaluation. This is something I've seen many times over the years with FCs. I mean, okay, fine. I'll give him that one. This is literally true. There have been entertaining FCs with a lack of ability once they get to a certain level. This is just people like, yes, there are incompetent, untalented people, but that alone is not, whatever. They reach the limits of their expertise and or ability. The trouble is the scale can become so large that foolhardy action. But this alone, if they know that that's their ability, then it's not. You can get to the point where you've developed a nuance to understand what is good and what is bad, and still understand that you are not capable of doing it, right? Like when you first start FCing, you may think that you're calling targets fast enough, right? Later on, you may learn that you are way not calling targets fast enough, but that doesn't make you instantly better at calling targets. And if you struggle with it, and eventually you might just realize that you're not one to call targets very quickly. And that is a limit to your ability. It is a cap of your ability, but it's not a Dunning-Kruger. And yes, I get that he's talking about a very specific person and basically saying that that person has a Dunning-Kruger or whatever. But again, like, really, that goes back to his definition of Dunning-Kruger basically being a way of calling somebody stupid with psychology terms. People need to do some risk assessment or even better yet, just bad. People need to do some risk assessment and risk mitigation. To take no risks mean to do nothing. No, because a person that's suffering from Dunning-Kruger would actually fail to do the risk assessment. To take no risks would do nothing. That is never the right way. So even if you do think that you're inclined to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which everyone is, just plain better to maybe get some decent advice before you speak. I mean, I feel that nestled into this is legitimately good advice, right? Like, again, going back, I explicitly say out loud for the purposes of, like, I guess attracting correction if need be, to get conversation started if I need to. But you know, I always try to, like, make sure to communicate how confident I am. Misplaced confidence in your own information is a big problem for sure. Make sure that the steps and objectives you make are well defined. Even better, do things that you have practiced and know you can do. Even if this is talking about Villy, like, wait. Is he... So he's suggesting that you could just do it more to get better at it. But, man, I don't know. All right, so in conclusion. So there we have it. Now go off to the wilds of New Eden. You can find your own examples of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Just try not to be the example. Cheers to that, Moomin. You can even tell us that your Dunning-Kruger effect stories in the comments. Nothing like a good story of bravado coupled with ineptitude. It is always cool to watch somebody do something dumb with confidence. All right. Well, that was a fun exploration.